Based off mine or off the? There's Kim. Good time. Okay. Good now? Looks like it's just a little up past 7 o'clock. I'll call to order the Seymour Common Council meeting for Monday, July the 8th, 2024. Welcome, everybody. Reverend Ken Davidson will lead us in prayer. All rise.
Dear Lord Jesus, we thank you for our community, for those who work hard to govern us well, and for all the blessings that we have in this community. We especially pray for those who keep the peace and respond to emergencies, keep them safe, and help them to do their jobs well. We ask you to guide also our city council and all its decision makings to promote fairness and benefit for all our community. In our Lord Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Ken. Next up, I'll invite the Cortland Crushers 4-H Club up to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you guys for leading us tonight.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Good job. Roll call, please, Mr. Bowes.
Mr. Blish.
Here.
Mr. Terrell.
Here.
Mr. Hackney.
Here.
Mr. Hubbard.
Here.
Mr. Davidson.
Yep.
Mr. Lucas.
I'm here.
Mr. Story.
Here.
All present and accounted for.
Thank you, sir. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes of the previous meeting? I'll entertain any motions related to.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Reports from committees, boards, and commission. Mr. Bowes.
Reports, Mr. Blish.
No, sir.
Mr. Terrell.
No, sir.
Mr. Hackney.
No, sir.
Mr. Hubbard.
No, sir.
Mr. Davidson.
Negative.
Mr. Lucas.
Yes, from the Governmental Affairs Committee. We discussed it briefly last meeting. After the meeting, I emailed proposals that we had received back. So I just open the floor for discussion on that. Anything we want to talk about, or still something we want to pursue? What's the feeling of the council on that?
I'm still willing to pursue it. Yeah. Did the committee plan to make a recommendation this evening?
A recommendation of?
The two different proposals?
No.
Okay.
No. We're going to just put a discussion.
Do you have two proposals?
I'm sorry?
You have two proposals.
Two proposals.
What's the hourly rate, money-wise? We know anything?
Did you get them?
I don't know if I got them or not.
What are you looking for, Brad?
The hourly rate, I believe, please.
Actually, I have, did a little math today. Kind of a breakdown of the expenses. Just so everyone knows, it's the two proposals we got. One was from Bill Brayman at Lorenzo Law Offices, and the other was from Zach Miller Zach is actually with us this evening, so thanks for coming.
Thank you for the invitation.
Do you want to go over the cost, or,
Who did?
I said, do you want to go over the cost, or are we just?
The cost, Mr. Brayman gave us an hourly cost, $195 an hour, plus costs and expenses. Did not clarify what that is. Mr. Miller gave us a fee of a $70,000 yearly fee as a retainer. On top of that, there would be some other expenses at $250 an hour. Whenever certain things kick in, if I understand right, if needed. Kind of a little, I would assume from Brayman's, it says plus costs and expenses. If you look at the second paragraph underneath where it says Zach Miller, I picked some things out of his proposal. Postage, special fees, delivery fees, phone calls, court and admin fees, deposition expenses, mileage, lodging fees, if needed. I would assume Brayman's costs are similar to that. I don't know that for a fact. I reached out to him mid-afternoon or so, and I did not get an answer from him yet. So.
Proceeding, this would obviously be something we're looking at for 2025, or this would be something that
If it's what now?
would we be looking at something for 2025? Is
I
this
think
something that
probably something that would start whenever we adopt it, and then
moving forward
yearly from there, is the way I understand it.
What do you mean yearly? Just like a contract renewal?
Let's say we start August 1. August 1, 2025. If that's, we'll do it however council would like to do it, if we proceed with it.
Brayman worked for the city of Bedford, did he not? He's associated with Lorenzo Law Firm.
Yeah, it should have it in his,
Is it Bedford or Medora?
So well, that kind of brings up a question I had. So, is it the law firm or is it Bill Brayman by himself?
Bill says he will be the lead attorney
And so then,
on this, and if needed, there are others. I think 4 other attorneys at the firm with some experience in municipal law. Bill said he would be the lead attorney for the council, should we choose to go that way.
So did you meet with either of them, Brad?
We haven't.
Because we haven't, have you explained to them what our needs are, or?
Yeah, I did that in the letter I sent to him.
Okay.
You should have had a copy of that too. Basically, it was just representing, let me see if I can find it. What I put was manage the legal affairs of the council, provide legal advice to council, a council committee, or a council person as needed to provide proper representation of the affairs of the council. Draft ordinances, resolutions, and other legal documents as prescribed by the council. This shall be accomplished with input from the city's attorney, as they are ultimately responsible for the city's legal affairs. Maintain custody of legal records and documents and turn them over to their successor. Promptly commence all legal proceedings necessary or advisable for the protection or enforcement of the rights of the council. Reporting in writing to the city council all items considered important to the operations of the council. Report to the council president and city's clerk treasurer all items that will have a fiscal impact on the council or city. and advise council or council persons of Indiana's open door law as needed. That's what I sent out in the letter.
So, both of these fee structures seem to be a lot less, well, they seem to be less than what our average cost has been over the last 4 years, and what we're on pace to spend over this calendar year as well. Did you compare those costs? I mean, am I reading that right? I have an average cost of what we currently, 74,000. And it looks like the two.
Up to date this year or for the year?
That's average over the last 4 years.
Okay. So obviously, well, I broke this down, and I don't know, I have no idea how many hours
Right.
per month. At 10 hours a month, for Mr. Brayman's proposal, would bring it 1,950. If you average that out the rest of the year, 23,400. I think I would think that would be a high end. I don't know. It depends what council's needs are. You know, there's no way of really knowing if they're going to be 5 hours a month, which would be 11,700, or what the other expenses will be.
And if we were just comparing sort of apples to apples here, where Zach Miller provided 6 hours as that covers his retainer, you'd calculated that too, so quite a bit of delta between the two, obviously due to the hourly rate, right?
Right. Yeah, if you just did the flat monthly fee for the retainer, it's $5,833. Monthly fee at 10 hours per month would be $1,950, roughly $2,000.
So before making a selection, what would be the next step?
First step is if we want to just go ahead and proceed with it, in my opinion.
Do you look for a motion?
Yeah.
I make a motion that we proceed to whatever the next step is.
I'll second.
Do we need a clarification on what the next step is?
Brad asked for deciding if we wanted to take the next step, and I would.
I would like to see current, like what you said, the prior 4 years average was 74,000. I'd like to see that number in comparison to what the new number is, and kind of so we can kind of.
I'd kind of like to know what we're looking at that we haven't received before that we're expecting from our attorney.
As somebody who really, other than the financial side, have a dog in this fight, comparing a council attorney to the city attorney is not really comparable. I don't foresee that person necessarily taking a load off of her, or, vice versa. She deals with some other stuff day to day, that the council attorney won't. So.
That makes sense.
Sure, some of it is a little repetitive, but I would say the majority of it's not.
Just something different.
So we had planned on an executive session tonight, right?
Yeah, but we found out it was not an adequate thing to do. Yeah.
And that's where I'm really glad that you reached out to AIM and they clarified that. Was it AIM?
I reached out to Luke Britt and AIM.
Okay. So it would be nice to have a second opinion. Do we always get a second opinion at no cost from AIM?
We could, I guess. Phone call.
Do we know that?
That's what they're there for, is my understanding.
Every time I've asked,
Yeah, anytime I've talked, Jerry, you've talked to him on the phone. Brad's talked to him on the phone, so yeah.
I put a call into, her name's Becca Clue.
McQuaid.
And late afternoon, she called me back the next morning. So it was pretty.
Does she give legal advice? Is that
She is AIM's attorney
She's
for that
AIM's.
purpose, yes.
And she can give us legal advice? Is that true?
I'd be careful there.
I know. But is that true?
she can give an interpretation of statute, common practices. I wouldn't go as far to say she would give specific legal advice for specific
She said
situations.
she cannot give legal advice.
Yeah.
So,
But she can give me
and that
her
is,
opinion of what's right and wrong.
I would
For
just,
the specific thing that I was asking about.
sure, I think it's in the best interest of the city and for council to have someone that can provide legal advice. So that we've gone back and forth several times over the last few months. I can tell you, and just speaking to council, I don't feel like I've had someone else that I can turn to, because I have in fact called AIM and said, can you provide me with some legal advice? And the first thing they say is, we cannot provide you with legal advice.
Right.
So, I mean, I appreciate you reaching out. That's what they're there for, right?
Right.
Except for they can't give us legal advice.
Right.
Have you reached out to me with those issues and questions?
Yes.
And were you unsatisfied with my answers?
Yes.
On what basis?
I can tell you there are multiple occasions where I've asked for help to define what we can do and not what we can't. And so instead of drafting result, we get cut off. I get cut off. So
What specifically are you referring to?
we had performance management, asset management. Those are two.
Performance and asset management?
The
Oh, the discussion. So, are you unsatisfied with my interpretation of the law, or are you
Not at all.
unsatisfied with the law?
No. So it would be, one of the things that I would compare it to is, if I walk into the doctor's office, a professional that says, you need knee surgery, I can tell you I'm going to look for a second opinion, right?
Yep.
Because I don't want to go under the scalpel first. And I'm going to look for a specialist, just like I've seen. And at the moment, I'm not provided with a second opinion. And I really feel like that's absolutely value add to city council.
But correct me if I'm wrong, Drew, once the city obtains an attorney, whichever one,
Clarification, the council would obtain the attorney, not the city.
thank you, council obtains an attorney, we can no longer go to Chris, correct? We have to go to,
I would still be duty bound to execute my duties as city attorney, and part of that would be, if you should move forward with hiring counsel, working with that individual in exercising my responsibilities. So I would work in tandem as much as possible. Part of my duties is to draft ordinances and resolutions for council, so that would ultimately come through my desk. That's just one example. So I would still be involved. I wouldn't necessarily be giving the legal advice. If that's something that you want to seek from your own attorney, that you have every right to do that.
but could you? Or is
I-
that a,
I would not feel comfortable giving a represented body legal advice knowing they have counsel.
So in either of these cases, I mean, one is obviously a retainer. One is an hourly rate. So one provides a standard cost. One then provides a pay as you go, right?
Right. They both have offered in their letters, you should have got those as well,
Yep.
that this is a substantial reduction of their normal
Yep.
rates.
Yep. Okay. All right. I think I understand.
so I guess what is the clarification on the next step? Is it there
Well,
2-1, or then a vote on the one, or what is the next step?
My recommendation would be providing an opportunity for these that have proposed to ask questions to the committee. Committee make a recommendation on selection, and I'm
So
assuming.
maybe you're saying reassign it the completion of the project to the Governmental Affairs Committee once the council either says yay or nay.
I think so.
Okay. We can do that.
Is that, I mean, does that seem,
Are you saying interview the two potential candidates, just the Governmental Affairs Committee, or are you wanting them to appear in front of council? Or what's, I would just like to see the motion clarified so that we know exactly where we're going moving forward.
would you
And I
prefer,
think Brad would like that
would
too.
you prefer to have this in committee or in council?
What would be the route to go in front of council? I mean, that would have to be open, correct?
Yes, an executive session is only appropriate for examining the qualifications or interviewing potential employees. And that's a distinction. This would not be classified as an employee. Therefore, the executive session portion of the law does not apply. So that would have to take place in an open session, yes.
Yeah, and well, and if we do assign it to the committee, committee meetings are open to the public, right? Obviously, I don't think other council members can attend, right?
They can go, they just can't speak.
Okay.
Is that right?
Not based on the interpretation I received from the public access counselor.
The interpretation I saw in the AIM handbook says that they can.
I understand there is some debate amongst AIM and the public access counselor on that provision, and that's actually, from my understanding, hopefully going to be addressed at the state level next session to kind of get some clarification on some updates that were made last session to the ODL. So hopefully we'll get some answers after next session.
So your motion would be to either discontinue discussion on it or continue discussion, assigning it back to the Governmental Affairs Committee to proceed with bringing in our recommendation as who we think would be the best fit for our needs.
That's correct.
Does that sound right?
Yep.
Got that, Darren?
I think so.
Condensed version, maybe?
Can you kind of say that one more time, Brad? Sorry.
Want me to condense it even further?
Sure.
A no vote means that it stops. A yes vote means it goes back to committee for interviews in a public forum.
Yeah.
Is that,
As far as the committee interviewing the two attorneys that submitted.
But the committee would be making a recommendation at that point, either to, you could still be, you could say no after they interviewed them, they could come back and say, no, we're not gonna move forward with this, or this is what we propose. Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Motion made by Mr. Story, seconded by Mr. Hackney. The motion is to send this back to the committee for interviews in a public forum and provide a recommendation to council. So, Mr. Blish,
Yes.
Mr. Terrell,
Yes.
Mr. Hackney,
Yes.
Mr. Hubbard,
I'll go with no, just for the record, I believe it should be done in open forum.
Mr. Davidson,
No.
Mr. Lucas,
No.
Mr. Story.
Yes.
The motion is passed 4 yea, 3 nay.
We'll take on our next assignment.
Anything else in reports, Mr. Lucas?
None from me.
Mr. Story?
Nope.
let's see, where we at? Public hearings, no public hearings tonight, no old business tonight. New business, we did have Miss Mary Hurt for fireworks conversation. I don't see her in the crowd. She came by earlier though and dropped off she dropped off the back page of your packet. Yes. So that you guys had it. If she makes it to the next meeting, we'll have her under miscellaneous.
The public hearing now, I don't understand. Are in the public speak now? I'm confused.
No, we'll be in miscellaneous in a little bit. We'll have miscellaneous in a little bit, yes. Let's see. So no old business. Now we do have miscellaneous. Just a reminder, we'll be on a 3-minute time limit tonight. J.L. Brewer.
Thank you. I'm sorry, what was,
Thank you.
what are we doing with the fireworks discussion?
She couldn't make it tonight, but she dropped off the stapled packet, which you got 2 copies of the city ordinance, and then you got a PTSD page on the back of it.
Okay, so we'll discuss it next week.
Yeah, she hopes to be here at the next meeting.
Okay.
You're up, sir.
Good evening. I am J.L. Brewer. I'm here. I'm actually the director of the Jackson Jennings Community Corrections Department. I'm here to represent the JRAC, or Justice Reinvestment Advisory Council for Jackson County. In 2021, I think it was 2021, the state of Indiana implemented legislation that required all counties to develop a local JRAC committee. What I gave to you there is a listing of all of our members, except there is one missing on there. Judge Amy Marie Travis, her name's not on the list. However, all the rest are on the committee currently. The reason I am here, well, let me talk about JRAC real quick. The reason I'm here to talk about JRAC, we have a local JRAC in this community. You have a list of the members, and the next part of that packet basically is the statute that establishes JRAC. As one of our duties or one of our charges is to promote and support mental health and addiction treatment services and recovery services. So that brings me to basically the reason I'm here, and that's your opioid dollars. I'm not here to ask for any money. Who doesn't need money? But I will say that I don't feel I need your money at all right now. But what we're here to do is to help vet the projects that may come before you for this money. We feel like we have a pretty good list of experts in the field when it comes to addiction, treatment, recovery services, and certainly welcome any questions on that. But we're here to help vet the projects that may come before you. Over the next 15 to 18 years, Seymour City, I believe, at the very back of that packet is in very small numbers, the amount that you're supposed to receive. Seymour City looks like they'll receive $145,442 in total abatement share funds that are restricted. Those are restricted dollars. You'll receive another $45,161 in unrestricted dollars. I don't know how much you've got currently. I'm going to guess it's not a whole lot, but you have probably received some of those funds. We're just here to ask that you would utilize us to vet the projects that might come before you, because you will see in that Exhibit E that I provided you, there are very specific list of uses for those restricted dollars. We're implementing and trying to implement a grant process to where people would come to us, the county council. They went ahead and implemented that they would use us to vet the projects, and so anyone coming before them for opioid dollars will need to come with a recommendation from the JRAC. That's all we're asking here, is just that you guys would recognize any recommendation that we would provide.
Thanks, Jay.
You're presently not asking for anything, just want us to review what it would be.
I mean, I'd like for you to support, us being your guide in the use of the dollars, is what I'd like.
Yeah, the city council would have to vet it because you're going to appropriate it when the time comes. But I will jump in right quick because I do want to add to what you were saying. So back in, that'd been 21 into 22 when we were working on our grant through the state to receive, to figure out what the recovery community looked like in Jackson County. One of our meetings, JL was there along with 7 or 8 others. And this conversation happened then, but we didn't have a good body to assign it to, if you will. JRAX wasn't quite up and running yet. You were close.
Yeah, it was.
You were starting, I guess is a way to put it.
The law was in place, but we were not organized.
Yeah, I mean, and since then, they have gotten organized. The only thing I would throw in on top of the mix, because I do think it is a good idea, I like the idea of experts in the field reviewing it. The only thing I would add to it, though, is coming out of that study when we worked with Steve Scherer and everybody then, one of the things that was recommended was recovery housing. And I would encourage that to be a priority when it comes to requests related to the city. Beyond that, again, even if ultimately they would serve like a committee to you, if you will. They would review the grant process, look at it, decide this is good, this is not good, it fits the bill, it doesn't fit the bill, things like that. They would bring it to you with a recommendation, but council would still have to appropriate those dollars to whatever it is, correct?
Yep.
So I'm in favor of it.
Does there need to be a motion for them to that, or how does it?
Well, you used a resolution with county council, correct?
They just made a motion during their meeting that that's what they would utilize. I don't know if what
okay.
process they used.
Chris, do we need a resolution or?
I can get something written formally if you want it, but if you want to make a verbal motion to.
And that's up to him.
Should be in the record and be in the minutes, so.
Okay, so you can go either way, it sounds like, if that's whatever your will is on it.
Isn't this what, Lindsay Sarver was here like a year or two ago? Was she part of your group?
She's on the committee as well. Yeah, she's listed there. Steve Scherer, he's actually the mayor's appointment to the JRAC. We've got representation from the hospital, local law enforcement, EMS, prosecution, public defender's office, judges, probation, myself. In the statute, there are folks that are required to be on the committee. On myself, judges, probation, sheriff, those people are required to be on there. Then we can add individuals if necessary or if deemed appropriate. We've done so actually, and Lindsay's one of those people. Megan Cherry out at the Anchor House, those folks have been added to the committee. Mm-hmm.
I'll make a motion for JRAC to currently vet the proposed funds coming to the city for the opioid settlement fund.
Do we have the funds yet? We do.
We have some.
Okay.
I want to say we have maybe $29,000.
They come
popped
in.
into my head.
That sounds close.
We get a distribution once or twice a year, and there was just another settlement with Kroger, so there'll be more
Right.
money coming at some point in time. We don't know those allocation amounts yet.
First year was slightly higher, and then the next 19 years are considerably less, so.
And Steve is still not only serving for you, but serving the city?
Not necessarily serving the city, he serves on this,
Okay,
at my discretion, and then
okay.
he is involved in 180 RCO as well, which is getting off the ground.
And Crystal is Seymour Police Department kind of representation there?
Currently, yes, she's Seymour City.
Yep.
Just one other quick question, JL. So if we send a request to you, do all 25 eyes on this committee look at it, or is it just
So
majority or?
we have a grant committee. There's about 6 of us that are on a grant committee. Myself, Lindsay, Steve, Megan, Ben Beatty's on there. Can't remember who else. Anyway, we look at the grant request, ask questions and kind of filter some of that out, and then it would get presented to the entire board for a formal vote.
What's the normal turnaround time on approving a request, would you say?
Well, we're in the process of right now. We're in the process of developing that. I would say by the time we get the process in place, week or two. We should be able to do it.
Just questions I figured we would be asked.
Yeah, if something's come in to the council and you said, we need to know by the next meeting, because the fact of the matter is a lot of grant requests are quick. They're wanting to know quick. And so we're trying to make it to where we can turn that around and get it back to people.
And we'd still have to run through 2 meetings for appropriation, right?
This is up and running now, correct?
JRAC's up and running, yeah, we meet monthly. Meet monthly at the Corrections Department. Happy to have you come in and join us, and, I mean, they're open meetings. They don't have a huge room, but.
And you use the facility out on DuPont?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, I work there every day.
Okay.
Well, except today I was off, but don't tell my boss.
I wasn't out there looking for you.
So, yeah. Yep, any other questions?
We have a motion from Chad, is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second from Jerry to utilize JRAC to evaluate grant requests of opioid funds. Mr. Blish?
Yes.
Mr. Terrell? Mr. Hackney?
Yes.
Mr. Hubbard?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yep.
Mr. Lucas?
Yes.
Mr. Story?
Yes.
The motion is passed, 7-0.
Next.
So some people, it's about all the money, but I have 3 comments I just wanted to bring to light to the public.
Could you introduce yourself, please, for the record?
Deborah Olson. Jackson County represents 5 counties, the judges. It's Amy Travis, and I would like to submit that I think Decatur would be a more fair and impartial representation for the 5 counties. My second thing I wanted to mention was WTHGIS. Okay, it's actually JacksonINWTHGIS.com. It has about property exchanges, including $300,000 plus property exchanges, going for $90,000 and under. Exchanges between judges and police chiefs. It's all on there. And the third thing I wanted to mention was there's a dumpster outside Rick Pointer's house. And that's all I had to say. My comments.
Sorry, I didn't catch the last. Outside where?
Judge Pointer's house.
Okay.
A dumpster.
Thanks, Deborah. Next.
Kevin Kaplan. I just want to see if I can get an update regarding the fingerprint scanner.
Greg?
Chief,
Yes, sir.
he wants an update about the fingerprint scanner. Do you have any update about
We're
that?
still waiting on a company to call us back. We have reached out to about 10 now, and I reached out to IMPD, and their tech people are supposed to be getting a hold of them.
Okay.
That's pretty bad. Well, I think we're a small fish, and they cater to the big companies, and I mean, that's.
Next.
My name is Kyle Herkamp. About the motion to pass for the seeking counsel for the city council, is that going to a committee meeting or to the council meeting?
Committee.
Okay. And which one? Is that the next one? And when is that?
That one has to be.
Will have to be said, it'll be, is it 48 hours notice?
Yes.
Yeah, it'll be posted 48 hours.
48 hours of business
Okay.
days.
That was all.
Anyone else?
I have some.
Sure.
Chad, what's happening with the transfer station? Is there anything new?
We just submitted our last document with IDEM, thanks to Chris. As soon as she figured out, or we found out what needed to be reapplied, if you will. She was on it, got everything we needed in a timely fashion, and so we should have we should have a public comment period before long. I really don't know, but they were looking after the completeness of everything today. I've not gotten an email back today from Juliana at IDEM, but I would say anytime now, at least
I'm hoping we're within 30 days,
Okay,
so.
thank you.
While I'm up here,
Okay.
I don't know what's gone on with the whole attorney thing and all that stuff, because I mean, I stay out of everybody's business as best I can. I'm good to do my own work, you know what I mean? So, but I do want to speak on Christina's behalf. As far as everything that I do and everything I run, like everything that gets ran through her last minute, sorry, Chris, but she does an amazing job, and everything she's done here, I just don't see this makes no sense to me. But I just wanted to at least say that.
On the transfer station, Jerry, Chris typed up and sent to me, we had to choose like one of 7 options to establish a closure fund for some reason. If city went bankrupt, then the state had to come in and close this transfer station. So she's got the legal paperwork to me. I'm looking into, I should have that hopefully filled out and submitted, but we're basically going to set up a trust fund of about $50,000.
Okay.
So, you know, IDEM has to have that just in case something were to happen and we walked away from it, that they could come in and use that money to close it.
But this isn't like we're starting over again, correct?
Oh, no, This is just one of the pieces of the puzzle that they required.
Okay.
And that's not due until they say, go ahead, build, then we do that.
So, first pay, it has to be basically be set up before we haul the first load in there.
Okay.
So.
Only thing I've got is, Park and Rec and first responders. You guys did an amazing job this past Saturday. I've heard so much praise, how much easier it was getting in and out of, Brigham Field. So, congratulations to Park and Rec and first responders. Thank you guys.
I'd like to, if anybody on council wants to contribute to to our interview process, have some questions we wanted to ask or anything like that, please do. I ought to try to get that scheduled. I'll work on it this week. It's gonna be when our applicants are available.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to
Can we
say,
do
Chief,
that?
if there's an exchange of ideas or deliberation of any kind. Cannot happen.
Okay.
That would have to be with the full assembly of council.
Okay.
Yep.
So they cannot submit email questions to Brad to ask them? That's not really deliberation.
I would say that's right at the line, and I would advise it against it. Distributing information just sort of as an FYI would be appropriate, but I would view the exchanging or sending of questions as sort of an exchanging of information that could potentially lead to dialogue. So I think just for the sake of erring on the side of caution, if you've got questions, I would recommend not sending those to committee. If you want to have it in a open council meeting as a whole, fine, but
I guess what she's saying, if you've got questions you want our committee to ask, as in me, Mr. Terrell, and Mr. Lucas, you can go ahead and voice those now.
or exchange them at the council meeting when the committee gives their report, however you want to do it. I just would.
So then, will I make a motion to, I don't know, to amend the motion before and just have it in front of council? That was what you were in favor of anyway, right?
Right.
Let's do that. Darren, I don't know.
Just basically do away with the motion in and just keep it doing it the same way we are now, just put it on the agenda for next meeting?
Yes. So there would be no motion, is that what you're saying?
Well, I say we vote on
Yeah, I would move
disbanding the motion, or how
Okay.
we want to term it.
Somebody move to strike.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
So a motion to strike the motion earlier under reports from committees by Mr. Story. Mr. Blish?
Yes.
Mr. Terrell?
Yes.
Mr. Hackney?
Yes.
Mr. Hubbard?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
No.
Mr. Lucas?
Yes.
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Motion to strike is passed 6-1-0.
So correct me if I'm wrong now, the next meeting, yes, both gentlemen will need to be here, so we'll have to reach out to them, that way
Yes.
questions can be asked. Is that possible?
Yeah, it is actually, and also if anyone would have any questions, I'm obviously available. I'm an open book, so if there's anything you guys would like to know now, that's why I swung by. So, thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody?
Anything else from council first?
I'd like to say something.
Hang on, Chips.
All right.
Okay, now Chips, you're up.
You did that on purpose, didn't you, man?
Well, I wanted to give them all a chance before, because I skipped over them earlier.
Thank you very much. It's not on the agenda. I just wanted to know where the council is on the egg processing facility or the egg farm. Does it have city permits? I know you all passed, without knowing what it was, the pasture part of it. Does it go to the plan commission this week, Matt?
They didn't pass the pasture part, they passed native grasses.
Okay, excuse me, native grasses. So when does it come before plan commission? They do not need a permit from the state.
They'll need a permit to build.
From the city?
Yes.
When's that come up?
If you remember correctly, I believe it was 25 is when they'll finally get around to breaking ground.
Okay, so when's their permit audience come up, or hearing come up?
The permits don't typically require a hearing. It is on property that is properly zoned inside of an industrial park for an egg cleaning facility.
So there's no building permit needed from the city?
There is a building permit needed, but there's no public.
Do they
hearing
have
or
that building permit?
No.
Okay. When's that happen?
When they finally get close to breaking ground.
Okay.
Which, again, they announced in their announcement that would probably be mid-year 25.
I'm sure you'll let everybody know.
I'm sure I can, but they're applying for a permit that doesn't require anything but proper plans, they'll have to go
Public
through all
notice
the.
is required. I realize that can be,
For a permit?
well, generally, I thought.
Chris, do we require public notice for a permit to build?
No, not for building permits.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can add something. I think the Tribune does post building permits. Those are public record.
Yeah.
We get those from the commissioner too, so whenever those become available.
Well, I would think that the city would have an interest in serving the citizens by letting them know, because it is being discussed. Many people are probably in favor of it, maybe against it. Maybe it'd be something that the city should do, is let them know. I understand that might be outside the purview of the process, but.
Council members, would you like to change the ordinances to require a public hearing on any permit issued in the city of Seymour?
No.
I don't think we want to go there yet.
No.
That's 2 of the 7, but.
Well, that was certainly due process. Appreciate that, Mayor.
Well,
Thank
no,
you
I
very
mean, they've
much.
got to change the way it works for us to go that route.
I understand, but I just think public interest is such that maybe the public would like to know what's going on in the city, but evidently it's not important.
Yes,
Thank
we
you.
would.
Anyone else?
Just a question.
Yes, Les.
Are building permits legal notices of publications in Seymour?
They are, as the Tribune pointed out, they are posted in the Tribune after they're issued.
Okay, great.
But they have to go through an entire process to get to that point, but there is not a public hearing process on permits. So, anyone else?
Yeah, what's it gonna do to property?
Stand up and step forward and say your name.
All right. My name's Rick Metters, and I'd like to know what that process plant's gonna do to everybody's property values in that area.
If you live in that area, you're next to an industrial park. It is inside of an industrial park.
Okay, and how about the water runoff?
Water will feed into the sewer from it.
It floods out there, and you're gonna have chickens out there with waste.
There are no chickens. Were there any chickens that you saw in any of their stuff?
Well, why would you be planting this grass?
Because they want to be environmentally friendly. They want to be LEED certified, which is the same thing they did in Missouri. I would encourage you to look them up there, which that facility also has no chickens on it. This is an egg processing plant. They're looking to hire 165 small farmers within a day's drive. And those 165 farmers are required to have at least 52 acres because they raise their chickens in pastures instead of barns.
Okay, so
They'll
they
still
don't
have a coop.
So they're not going to put any chickens out there?
That's what we've been told.
Okay.
So now I encourage Chip, does a lot of research on stuff. I encourage you to look into city ordinances because commercial animal usage is not permitted by city ordinance. It does then have to go through a process, but not for permits.
So now is that considered city?
9735, Chip, before you stand up, look it up.
Well, I'm already standing up, Matt.
Okay, 9735.
I've worked in it for 30 years plus. They are not required to have a permit from IDEM for a processing building.
We don't do IDEM, sir. This is the city of Seymour.
I understand. But they are also, they could put 19,999 chickens out there and not be required to have a permit.
City ordinance 9735, Chip, non-commercial is the only chickens that are allowed in the city of Seymour. 9735 explains that. I encourage you to look it up and read it. Because if you're trying to do a commercial poultry, commercial farm, any of that, then you do have to go through a process for the city. That has nothing to do with IDEM because that's state level. That has everything to do with the city of Seymour. 9730 explains the chicken stuff a little more in depth, gets into some of the finer details from back when that was brought up 10 years ago. But 9735 is the part where it says non-commercial, or says commercial farms are not allowed within the city. But again, it is in an industrial park.
It is in the Seymour city limits?
Yes.
Okay.
The owner of the property before it sold requested to be annexed.
Okay.
Which puts more code enforcement on top of it compared to what it was.
Okay.
So.
All right.
9735, is that on the city website then?
If you go to Ham Legal, you can look up all of our ordinances, Kevin.
But yes, there is a link on the city website also.
Thank you.
Hi, Eric Mayfield. On the council that you might be getting, I have a couple questions for Mr. Miller or maybe you guys. The $70,000 retainer fee, is his expenses taken off of that? Or do you have to pay that $70,000 no matter what?
I can clarify that. It's my contract. So just for the record, that was merely a proposal based off of the information that was provided me. It was relatively brief. So that proposal is based off of my experience, potential conflicts of interest, things of that nature. But if you guys are more looking for just tailored legal advice, which is different than leading potential litigation against the board, and so my role would be very different than what Chris's would be. There could potentially be conflict. So for instance, as an attorney, my interpretation of the open door law would be that even if an individual is not a full-time employee, that is certainly in a conversation that could be had behind closed doors. Because personally, I'm not a huge fan of having my personal information waved out here. I'm frankly shocked. I mean, it's pretty good job protection, but that's a huge disincentive for any lawyer to come and represent you. Also, I'm not representing the town. I'll be representing the town council, which is also fundamentally different. Ultimately, the town needs to know, be well informed, and I have no doubt that the mayor and everybody else here will make sure that happens. But that was merely a proposal. I also specified that this is open to negotiation. So, so with respect to that retainer, everything in that proposal, which should have been kept confidential, is completely up for negotiation. So, and ultimately, I would need more information to know whether I want to take this job on or not. Because if there's going to be a lot of conflict between me and other members or other attorneys, there's costs associated with that. If this is merely, hey, we have this issue, then that's something that's separate as well. But ultimately, the costs and everything that would be included in that is up for negotiation. There is no agreement right now.
Oh, I understand, but interpret what you're saying on a $70,000 retainer. Let's say you only spend $20,000. Who keeps the $70,000? I mean, the $50,000 is not used. is that retainer, I guess what I'm asking, is that retainer spent no matter what? Or
So
if
that's
they
where-
only use you for $20,000 worth, then they don't have to spend the other 50?
That's up to the town. So for instance, I'm an attorney for the town of Brownstown, where I do an hourly rate. I also have a flat fee that they pay me in addition to. So, and then I have a litigation fee. So my retainer, just like when you go in and get a car worked on, you pay the labor costs, but if you have to replace the transmission, the mechanic doesn't pay for that. So, I hope that clarifies.
Not really, but, do you guys understand the answer to that?
I took it that based on what I saw, that basically covers, if operate under exactly what he sent, that covered 6 hours a month or whatever.
That covers everything. So hypothetically, should we decide to proceed on that basis as opposed to an hourly basis, the flat fee would cover attending both meetings, every legal question, any type of oversight that would be required, and the 6 hours is if a litigation or administrative board before the federal or state government is initiated, I will do 6 hours of that work for free. Then I will have an hourly rate, which is traditional. So if you talk to most municipal attorneys, that's often how they do it. So, and the reason being is there's a huge cost to a private lawyer, so I have a thriving private practice. If I take on the Seymour City Council as a client, I'm automatically conflicted out from at least 5 clients that I currently have. So that's why the retainer is proposed, but it's merely a proposal. So, and for the record, Bill is a spectacular lawyer. I think he's a great man, and he would serve you guys very well as well. So I can't say anything bad about Mr. Raymond whatsoever. You guys are being great hands with him as well.
One more question. So have you put this out to several attorneys and just 2 of them have applied? Or are you guys putting this out to the open so other people can apply?
We sent letters to every attorney in Seymour and Brownstown.
And you only got 2 people in interest?
Yes. So 12 letters, was it? Do you remember?
I think it ended up being 13, wasn't it? We added one last.
So these are your only 2 choices, in other words?
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else? Entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Meeting adjourned. Enjoy your night, everyone.
But he said.